I'm Janice Taylor, and I am president, CEO, founder, whatever label you'd like to give me, of Just Be Friends, where we connect families and build community one friend at a time. And this is a little bit about what I'm about to talk about. When we think about this topic of unconventional solutions, do you ever go, once you hear it, you go, well, that's just so obvious. Sometimes unconventional solutions are just so obvious. And I'm hoping by the end of this talk, you'll agree with me. Losing the labels, one word for lasting change. Imagine no more labels. How would you define yourself? Imagine being a kid today. How would they describe who they are if we didn't place specific labels on them? And in a world of technology, we can type and text whatever we want, and boy, do we, with a fury. And we say these labels, and then we walk away, and then we forget. Somebody read that. Somebody thought that and went, that's me. When I was a kid, this was a label that I was told. I would go to school, and when you hear the rest of my story, you'll say, maybe it was deserved. Maybe it was something that it was a pretty easy way to define me. And as a result of that, I internalized this belief. But I hid it. And instead of going to school acting small, I was mean and ferocious. And I tortured the kids that I went to school with. You all know this. Pretend like you have never drank this. This is the champagne of my youth. I remember the first time I tried baby duck. It's like bubbling on your tongue. You're like, wow, this is kind of sweet. Slightly stronger than Kool-Aid, but whatever. I was in a room filled with smoke. There were strangers everywhere. Now, this story would be okay, except I was 8. And I drank that whole bottle. I won't tell you what happened after that. I spent every other weekend at my dad's house, who believed that if I joined the party, I wouldn't be so irritating when I was asking him to do things like spelling and like reading a book. And on every other weekend when my mother was working the 3 jobs just so that we could eat, I had 2 older sisters who were teenagers, and in the back seat of the car I would go. They were responsible. I had a pillow, I had a blanket, I had a notepad, piece of paper, sometimes a flashlight if we could afford batteries. And they would cruise the streets. And there I was, 8 years old, in the back seat of a car. And I would try to memorize all the street signs, because when you cruise the street, you don't do it once. You're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. This street, I'd see Elphinstone, and I would go, I've hit the mother lode. Because I would then take all the words apart and try to make all the words. Because what else do you do when you're 8? Trust me, I still see a Trans Am and a mullet, and I look. I'm like, wow, he's hot. My friends go, in 1980, I would see this word, and I would go, oh, I get to like 12 or 13. There are 532 words that Elphinstone makes. Who knew? One of my developers, he wrote a program to tell me that. So when we think of one word, there are 532 reasons, meanings why someone behaves the way that they do. But instead, today we're getting lost in a debate. How do we define it? How do we diagnose it? There are 500 reasons why someone behaves the way that they do. And each of you here have 500 different stories that make you who you are. But we want to slap a label on it, because that's convenient. A couple of years ago, I'm from the prairies. We're a little slow in the whole environmental thing. I was at a friend's house, and I noticed this putrid smell coming from the sink. And I go down to the sink. I'm like, your sewer's backed up. She's like, oh, no, that's my compost. I'm like, your what? She's like, my compost, where I put my bits of trash, my banana peels, my eggshells, my coffee grounds. You leave it long enough, you let it mature, and it becomes the greatest fertilizer. So there I was, over this bucket, bawling my eyes out in the most God-forsaken smell you can imagine. And she said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "I didn't know that trash can be the greatest fertilizer to plant the greatest gardens." Right now, each of you have underneath your seat, you have a label. I'd like you to choose the one that says 1, and I want you to put it on your chest. Oh yeah, I'm reading them. Oh my. Do we have some labels? For those that don't have enough, I apologize for that, but I think you can understand the exercise. So now, each of you have a randomly assigned label, and maybe there's parts in your story that this makes sense. Oh yeah. Victim, bully, bystander. We put these on so that we can understand the most painful behavior that's rocking most adults today if you're a parent. It hurts. We just want it to stop. So we figure that if we give children, based on their behaviors, this label, it will make sense. It will make sense to us. So we run slogans. My favorite, imagine, no bullies. Bullies in the room, if that is your label right now, please stand up. Look around. Right now, I'm telling you, imagine if you didn't exist. Imagine hearing that every day you go to school, that you suck. This is a bully-free zone. Now imagine if you're a kid who's 8 years old, 9 years old, and just had a weekend like I had. And I've already told you, you don't exist. Guess what? They already feel that way. Why do you think they behave the way they do? Please sit down. Now I want you to take that label that you have on your chest right now, and I want you to rip it off. And I want you to rip it into paper, and rip it again, and know that every fragment of your life, every story is part of that label. But do we really care? Do we really care? The second label that you have on your chair is called friend. I want everybody to put that label on now. So when I say this, imagine friendship. Now everybody stand up. Guess what? Welcome to the Friend Club. Congratulations. You've deserved it. Please sit down. So when we think about these labels, we've just heard Brené Brown talk. And if you haven't seen the talk, those that are listening at home, please watch Vulnerability. All of these labels come from one place, that we believe who we are is not enough. That's it. They're all the same. Whether you're a bully and you're angry and you're mean, we do not know where that comes from. But just know that there's a story behind it. And for the victim that believes the words that are said to them as though that's the law, because they believe at the heart of them that who they are is not enough. Or the bystander who's quiet and watches this, but at the very core of who they are, believe that they are not enough, so they don't say anything. Do you see? It's all the same problem. So we can't give it a label anymore. We need to just teach them that that's friend. We're all part of the same bucket, you know, the compost bucket. the one that reeks to hide heaven. There are parts of your story that really stink. And as part of this community we call being human beings, I know that it's painful. But at some point, we just gotta let it all go. And so this is what my community looked like when I was a kid. My mother, who was working 3 jobs, she just was trying to keep the roof over the head. Like we were like, oh my gosh, what's happening next? But there was this village, this community of moms who taught me about humor. So if you find this funny, you can thank the Bellegarde family, which was a Cree family, who taught me that humor was one way that we could get through really difficult times. And if you find parts of my story potentially forgiving, you can look at the front row to my best friend, Mona. And you can look to her mother, who taught me that forgiveness is our greatest gift. And we have to forgive. We have got to forgive. Because we're all part of the same bucket. We are. And so this is what a community looks like. There are parents out there who are scratching their heads. Everybody's angry. We're all shouting at each other. We're going to school. Oh, trust me, I'm a mom of 2 girls. And when your little girl comes home and says, Mommy, why don't the kids like me? Why do they pick on me? And oh, trust me, I went storming into that principal's office, kicked open the door, and I'm like, what are you going to do about these bullies? I want them all punished. And then I realized what I was wanting to stop for my child, I was only wishing for another. That these were kids. And they were doing bad things, but they're still just a friend, and we've got to teach them that. So when despair robbed me of my mother's ability to be the mom that she always wanted to be, there was a community of people that didn't judge her. They never said, oh, that Marilyn. They stepped in, they're like, I got you. And about 6 years ago, I got my mama back. And she helped me through the toughest time of my life to become the woman that I am today. And that, the 3 greatest words that she ever taught me were these. And I want you to take them with you on the streets. I want you to take them with you in your offices. I want you to take them with you when you have a disagreement. My mother always said, we may not like all the things about each other, but at the end of the day, we have to just be friends. Thank you.